So, this month I played Sunset Overdrive, which is an action-adventure shooter developed by Insomniac Games and published by Microsoft Studios. It is an Xbox One exclusive. It is set in 2027 in a fictional metropolis called Sunset City. The player controls an employee of Fizzco who has to fight off the OD, short for overcharged drinkers, humans who have turned into mutants after drinking Fizzco's energy drink beverage.
So it's a video game about killing speedrunners that are too hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Yes.
Cool.
In the dystopian Sunset City, the player character can wall run, use zip lines, and grind rails to swiftly navigate through it with a large arsenal of weapons to use. It also has a multiplayer mode, which I have not played and will not discuss. So, this does not have any cover. It is not a cover shooter. It is a momentum shooter. So, if you had played this before playing Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4, or Marvel's Spider-Man, Sony's Miles Morales, whatever the hell that game was called, this game actually makes a lot of sense as a predecessor to that, because you can, in theory, just kind of run around, but it's really hard to play the game like that. You need to use zip lines, jump off of, like, cars, jump on rails, and grind across the city to, like, a very mediocre pop punk soundtrack.
I want to interject for a second. While it is the daddy to Spider-Man, it's also the child to Infamous.
Yes. Which I have not played yet.
But very similar motions, as far as I understand it.
Si, senor. This was a launch title for the Xbox One. It was one of the very few and is kind of criminally underrated. Just because it has a very loud and vibrant aesthetic, as well as being bold and brash. A lot of people got turned off by that, which makes no sense because Xbox gamers are known for being obnoxious douchebags, so you'd think they'd like this.
Only because of the Halo fan base.
Yeah. So, basically you play as a create-your-own character who's basically just a blank template, and you go around the city and you kill people because they drank a really bad soda that this company made that you work for. So it's like the most light of critique on stuff and things, but also most of the game just consists of you blowing the hell out of monsters.
So when you created your character, were you Geralt of Rivia? No,
although I should have tried that.
Were you King Spawn?
I was something that looked vaguely like me. As close as I can get it. So yeah, the art style is very loud. I wouldn't say neon, but it's pretty darn close to neon. Think bright sunny days all the time. Everything is cranked up to 11 on terms of color and saturation and like everything.
If I remember right, it's kind of like a D-made Borderlands.
Kind of. More like Borderlands with the color turned up and without the cell shading.
Yeah.
Something along those lines, yeah. The general aesthetic is very well in line with that. Everything is bulbous and over the top and doesn't make any sort of real sense in terms of physics or proportions. The characters are caricatures. The mutants don't make any sort of biological sense whatsoever. Neither do the physics in this game, but the game does have a very strong physics engine, which is extremely necessary for the gameplay to flow, which it does super well once you get the hang of it, as well as just being fun. Like, there's relevant topic. A recent Sonic reveal came out, and apparently the gameplay had like no real physics engine to it or whatever. I'm not sure what the hell's going on with that. But a game like a Sonic game where your speed and velocity is extremely important needs a good physics engine. This game also needs that. You spend the whole game grinding, basically skateboarding all across the city. You can't really beat the game if you just run around. You will die very quickly. You're constantly on the run. And there's nothing to hide. You can't just stand there and shoot things. They will kill you. There's 4 or 5 enemy types that I can recall. They all have a somewhat unique place in the play space. Think, what if Halo's The Dance gameplay, which is what it was referred to as internally, the intricate gameplay of you going back and forth with the enemies in the current play space. You know, you can't really play Halo like a cover shooter type, whatever. You need to constantly be moving.
Yeah,
it encourages it heavily based on its gunplay.
It's more of an arena shooter than a cover-based shooter.
Yeah, so think that, but like more. So close to like, what if Doom 2016 was like fun without being gory?
Easy.
Like the tone is fun and goofy.
Oh, not violent and gritty.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very violent, but it's very goofy and over the top. The blood is crazy, obscene colors. Like it's a lighter hearted game. I believe it's rated teen as well.
I don't think so.
Let me check. It feels like it's rated teen.
A few moments later.
Rated M for mature.
Ah, screw you.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Blood and gore, drug reference, sexual themes, violence, and strong language.
Okay, this feels like it feels like a teen game to me, being an early 20-something. It comes across like not really Deadpool-esque, but in that vein of like, it's gross and vulgar, but for the sake of comedy in and of itself, not
So,
really
It's gratuitous.
gratuitous, but childish. So not like gratuitous, whereas you get, I don't know, like a...
Not exploitative.
Yeah, like Final Destination is gratuitous in its kills, but it's because they're supposed to be horrific, they're not really supposed to be funny. Deadpool doesn't say fuck because he wants you to take it seriously. Deadpool says fuck because it's funny, and you're 14. Yet the movie was rated R, even though its target demographic is 14-year-olds. That's what I mean. Is this... Okay, yeah, it's rated mature. This is meant for, like, 15-year-olds. It's like, ooh, what if we said fuck, and they're boobs, and we run around, we blow stuff up. It's like that. So it's very silly. It's very over the top. I love that presentation. I did not play this when it came out, which is when I would have been 13, 14. So I fit into the target demographic, but I didn't have an Xbox then. So not an Xbox One anyways. So I missed out on that, but it was very nice to play that now. It does have a very... I can't keep using the same word, fun, over and over again. My vocabulary is only limited when it comes to things relating to fun.
You're just not used to it.
Nope, just not used to finding words for that. I don't know. The gameplay is exciting. It keeps you on your toes, but it's not overly difficult. The boss battles are pretty darn straightforward. The enemies are somewhat well balanced for what it is. The story is really straightforward. It's just a vessel that gets you to gameplay, and that's fine.
Can you please go back to the soundtrack? Because you sounded sort of negative on that, and I've only heard glowing reviews about it.
It's a lot of cheap licensed music. Like, there's some more expensive tracks that they clearly had to license out, but like, the general vibe is it feels like they didn't have the money to get a better soundtrack. Like, the tone, it's like a pop punk with some like heavier rock thrown in there. It's very in your face, aggressive stuff. But the some of the songs that they have, which are clearly licensed from actual bands, they're just not as high profile as I would have wanted for this type of a game. It is what it is. The game also had a somewhat limited budget from what I've heard in comparison to most Xbox Game Studios games, especially at that time. The Xbox One is notorious for having a really rough launch period, including its games catalog. So,
True story.
yeah. Yeah, so story is really straightforward. Music is good. Nothing spectacular, but it's good. It functions well for what it is. Presentation's all good. Technologically speaking, nothing is astounding. Even by 2013 standards, the graphics are fine. The art style is cool, but it's not like, oh my gosh, I can see their nose hairs. It's like, it's not high fidelity. It's not super high polygons. It's not super high textures. It needs to be smooth because of the type of gameplay that this game has and requires you to utilize. You would want to optimize your refresh rate versus your graphical settings would be the recommendation. You need it to run smoothly and quickly and not be too worried about textures not loading correctly. I had very few tech problems. I played this on the Xbox Series X, so that may have something to do with it. I did play it originally 2 or 3 years ago on the original Xbox One, the OG VHS player looking thing, and I don't recall any serious issues with it then. You have your occasional like button inputs not working correctly, or mostly just like button input. Sometimes the responsiveness isn't stupendous, but no real. It's not like playing Assassin's Creed and then you just randomly jump off of a building in the wrong direction because you didn't even press any buttons or something like that. There's no crashes, no major game-breaking bugs that I encountered. No serious graphical problems. I just made sure that the refresh rate was on higher, and then the graphic settings I just kind of left alone. Runs well. It's fun. The campaign took me about 8 hours to play on the middle difficulty, which is roughly equivalent to normal. That is my second playthrough. Yeah, so...
Would you ever dare play hard difficulty?
To get the achievement.
Is that the highest difficulty, or is there like a realistic?
I don't remember, honestly. I don't pay that much attention to those details. I bought it originally 2 years ago for $20 off of the $20 rack, because this game, despite the fact that it is fairly well taken by critics, it just was not popular on release at all. It was one of the reasons why the original Xbox One kind of tanked on release, which is lame, but whatever. So it went on the discount rack very quickly after that. But for being... I bought it 7 years after release on the $20 rack, and now I'm replaying it about 9 years after release. Holds up very well. Yeah, I would definitely recommend picking it up if you have any of the Xbox One or above consoles. It's also on PC under, I believe, Windows 10 and Steam as of a couple of years ago, so you can probably play it on that as well.
I was going to say, at the time of recording, it is the Steam Summer Sale until July 7th, so this episode will come out a few days before that, and it is $5 on Steam.
Now that's a steal. Yeah, strong recommendation for basically anyone, honestly. If you like action games at all, strong enjoy, much like Jacob's going onto Steam right this hot second to buy it based on my recommendation. I'm so influential.
It's not true.
I think it's true.